Good morning. Nice to be here this morning. And there's Haiti. I was commissioned by our fearless leader, Steve, to do a poem. And so, just as a disclaimer, I ain't no Isaac Watt. So we can lower our expectations down a little bit. Okay, I'm pushing the button. There he is. There's just ordinary Montana folk on a mission to Haiti. Really, no joke. Thousands of miles we traveled by plane. What were we thinking? Have we gone insane? In Port-au-Prince, our big bird set down. We showed them our passports and got the runaround. We'd still be there if it weren't for Pastor Chiffon. He greased the skids and soon we were gone. Well, we loaded 2 pickups and an SUV. We never imagined the sights we would see. Just kind of, oops. I need somebody with a more coordinated thumb. So many people and such a big mess. What were we thinking? This is going to be a big test. Well, the road was narrow on the way to Vernay. People passing on corners honking, "Get out of my way." The meaning of close call, well, it had been redefined. But folks home were praying, and we made it just fine. What's the secret to this, Matt? Well, the place we were staying was really first rate, and Pastor Chiffon and Madam Lucy treated us great. We really appreciated the food they prepared, and we enjoyed the comforts of the home that they shared. The plan was to get glasses to the needy and poor. Do I point it where? There they are. There was no shortage of either as we started the chore. But there was too much excitement for the unruly crowd. What were we thinking? Too busy, too loud. Well, the next day, another church, and we're at it again. This thing is really flaky. And we got folks good glasses, and we prayed with them. Our spirits are lifted as things went well. We saw God at work, we all could tell. Sunday came and we all went to church. There was so much need, we decided to work. Well, it didn't take long and the crowd lost control. What were we thinking? We have to go. Well, a little discouraged and a little down, we discussed the situation at the church in town. We prayed for guidance and followed God's call. We went back the next day and we gave it our all. Though things were not perfect, they were much improved, and those needing glasses were getting them too. They managed to keep the rowdies outside, and what were we thinking? God's on our side. The next day, 2 more churches. We served 2 more churches the next 2 days. Our total of 1,600 glasses as God paved the way. And then there was some sadness as we got ready to leave. What were we thinking? We were just following Steve. What were we thinking? Does it matter at all? I think it sure does when we follow God's call. So thank you, Lord Jesus, for letting us serve. and be with drivers in Haiti that ain't learned how to swerve. Now, this poem has an epilogue. I know that's unusual for poetry. So here's the epilogue. This poem I wrote, well, I thought I was through, but we needed to get back to the guest house in the airport, too. The truck we'd been nursing along broke down. What were we thinking? We're just halfway to town. Well, a team sticks together, that's our hard and fast rule, but the replacement driver didn't get the memo, and that wasn't cool. 2 groups made it back to the guest house okay, and 4 vehicles later, the rest made their way. Then, the road to the airport was clogged up tight. What were we thinking? We're going to miss our flight. Well, our blood pressure rose and we all had our doubts. What were we thinking? God worked it out. What were you thinking? You might ask. We just wanted to serve God in this task. Now I forgot the last 2 lines. I'll have to pull it out of my pocket. Isn't that terrible? You get all the way through the whole thing and you got 2 lines left. The last 2 lines, oh, yeah, right. We never thought to Haiti we'd roam, but it sure feels good, and I'll hit the button. To be back home. Thank you. That one.
Well, it's hard to follow Tim's act, so I'm not even going to really try, but we're going to... Okay, I'm just pretty much just going to introduce the team and to tell you a little bit here. So, Wilbur Nisley was gracious enough to drive us over on the church bus, and believe me, that is one nice bus compared to everything else that we had a team with. So, this is your team. Some are from church here, some are not. So, Tim and Trudy Halls were on it. Patty and Shane Boris. Margaret Sperry, her son Doug Sperry were there. Barb was there with her daughter Abby, and Lynn Nielsen was there. Jeff Deuce was also there, not from our church, and I'm Steve Wilson. I was there. Well, there we go. This was Pastor Chiffon and Madam Lucy. They were gracious enough to house us. They had a very nice place. Pastor Chiffon, 5 years ago, was actually the vice president of the country down there. So he had some pull, and you'll kind of hear a little bit about that as we go along. So these were the cooks and that helped us and fed us, took care of us. And that's Abby. She was kind of our photographer and all around did everything. And I think probably I'm about out of what I've got. So I'm going to pass it along, and you'll hear from me again in a little bit. So, it was an adventure, anyway.
Truly an adventure. This is the first church that we went to give glasses, and we ended up being at this church for 3 days. I think that there were actually 2 planned, but there was a huge need at this church, so we were there for 3 days. Let's see if I can. This one? This one? Okay. These are all of the glasses that we took. There are 3,000 pair of glasses in there, and they're all labeled, cataloged, entered into the computer system so that whenever Trudy or Tim would, and sometimes Abby, would read their eyes, then we would get a list. And we prayed for a list. Because sometimes there was only one on the list, and sometimes there were none on the list by the time we got to the last day, because we had given out so many glasses over the time. So we always prayed for a list. Steve was gracious to me, gave me a lot of young ladies and young men who came in. He would always say, okay, you just wait for her. You just wait for her. You just wait for her. And I loved it because I would go shopping for the girls. I would have my list, and I would go and look for ones that would be appropriate for a young person, because we had a lot of glasses that were huge, a lot of glasses that just wouldn't have been appropriate for a young girl to go to school with. So I would go shopping, and people would ask me, are you, we can get those glasses, because we had runners, people to go get them. And I say, no, I'm going shopping. And Steve would say, just let her shop. So I would go shopping. And the Lord was so gracious the whole time. We had in our group, we met weekly for probably 2 months, maybe, before we went. And we always prayed that God would prepare the Haitians, would prepare us, and that we would have the glasses that would be needed. And it was interesting how many times the glasses matched what they were wearing. They would have on a purple shirt, and they would have purple glasses when they walked out. So it was pretty cool. The Lord worked a lot. This was our power at the place where we stayed. In Haiti, you only get electrical power from the state from 6 p.m. till midnight, or sometimes just midnight to 3 a.m. So they would charge up these batteries during that time, and all of the rest of the time, the batteries were what powered what we had. So of course, we weren't able to use fans in the daytime and all of that sort of thing. But it was very interesting, different from the way we live. One day they didn't charge, and so no showers, no anything until they turned on the generator to get it all charged up. So this is the chaos of what it's like to be on the line whenever we're doing glasses. You see Trudy down at the end reading the glasses, and then Margaret and it looks like Abby probably are the ones working on the computer. And then Lynn and I were fitting people. We would get the list and fit them with their glasses. And then further down the line were Doug, who was fitting glasses as well, and Shane, who fit glasses but also fixed them. Sometimes the nose pieces were cattywampus, and sometimes the earpieces didn't fit good, but he would fix them, and out they would go. This is the line of people waiting. The Haitian people were so afraid that they weren't going to get what we had to offer them, that at this church they were pretty unruly, and I think somebody else will probably talk about that. But they were dragging people from the second row and the third row up onto the front row. People were having to adjust their clothes and get seated, and I mean, you can see how they're all just packed in there, and they were elbowing, and it was kind of an interesting thing. But we found out that that's normal for Haiti, because they're afraid they're not going to get what you have to offer. So, I think probably this is you start. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell about a lady before I go. She's not on here. We didn't get a picture of her, but I have to tell you about her because she was just so amazing. A little old lady, probably Haitian people, it's hard to tell how old they were. We would see 70, 80, 90-year-old people that we would have sworn they were 40. But this little lady, her son, her daughter, and I think a son-in-law maybe, walked her up to Trudy to have her eyes read, and then she ended up in the chair in front of me. And the whole time, and they were having to guide her everywhere that she went. And the whole time she was looking around for her daughter, trying to figure out why she left her in this chair. And we soon found out, because I got the list, got the pair of glasses, and I reached out to give them to her so she could put them on. She had no clue I was even there. She had no No idea. And so my interpreter helped her get the glasses on. And so my comment to her was, "Can you see me?" And she said, she just kind of sat there for a few seconds. And then my interpreter asked her again, "Can you see her?" And she said, "I see her lips are moving. I see she wears glasses. I see her hair is white." I mean, she just went through all these things that she could see, which was totally amazing. And as she was walking out, her daughter was trying to help her, and she was kind of like, "Get away from me," you know. And she was walking down the aisle of the church, just visiting with every person that she came to, and we just figured she was saying, "Oh, that's what you look like. You sure haven't aged very good," or "That's what," you know, just all the things she had missed for all of this time that she hadn't been able to see. So that was a pretty exciting time. So.
Better make sure I know how to work this. Which one? Okay. I can't see with my glasses or without them. So. And I'm a glass person, supposedly. It was a good trip. I really appreciate you guys sending us and praying for us. It was real important. We could feel the prayers. And I think we did help the people out down there. Not only did were we concerned about their physical condition and their eyesight, we were concerned about their spiritual condition. So how do you go on an eyeglass mission and relate to them in a spiritual way? And one of the ways we did that is we talked to the people and prayed with them. And one of the things I did, we prayed with a lot of people, 300-400 probably. And Patty did, and Lynn did, and I did, and Doug. But one of the things I did, I asked for prayer requests, and when you ask for prayer requests, you get to know the people a little bit and see where they're at. And one of the biggest prayer requests is a spiritual life, and to pray about that. So I would do that, and I would encourage them to grow in their spiritual life by reading the Word and by drawing closer to their church. And also, when I felt led and I thought the people needed it, I would give them a gospel tract to take home with them, and hopefully many seeds were planted and lives were changed. But anyway, here I am, and this is my interpreter on the left. Her name was Angie Chevalier, which I thought was interesting. I said, "You must have some French in you." And she said, "Yes, I do." So anyway, she was a local girl on break from going to school in the Dominican Republic. She was going to be an engineer. And she made the comment that she needed to get a good education so she could take care of her family after she got married. I thought that was interesting. But anyway, she spoke very good English. She learned it locally at her local school. And she was a very big help relating to the people. And my job, like Patty said, was to fit the glasses, make sure they left so they were up on there straight and they felt good. And so that was my job. Guess I'll move on. Wrong way.
You just have to keep going. Keep going. I mean, some of these were part of that process.
Here's Patty and Doug and I just kind of relaxing between people to come up to deal with. Here's Abby working with the refractor. That was a tough job for Trudy and Tim and Abby, but they did a good job. Read a lot of people's eyes, and who's next? Because I think this is
Actually, keep going. I think you're a little behind.
okay.
Keep going.
Am I going the wrong way?
Yeah, maybe a couple more.
Okay, I think that's
Bonjour. Now you're supposed to practice that a little bit. I know some people have been to Haiti and they said you really need to learn the Creole language. So, bonjour, come on. That means good morning. Okay. I tried to learn a few of their phrases, and my interpreters had a hard time with me doing that. But benio is blessing. Bonsoir is good afternoon. Bonje beniro is God bless you. So they're wonderful words. I guess I was supposed to talk on the reaction of the people when they would get their glasses. And I guess this is my first slide. I didn't get through the slides with anybody, but here's a person. Those are our reader forms right there. It's John 3. And he put the glasses on and he's reading it to see if it's clear. And if you had a good interpreter, they really helped a lot, actually.
Actually, you can keep going here, because I think you're still a little.
Okay. And which way do I point this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is one of my favorite photos. I took a picture of these 4 little beautiful kids. And one was really posing for me. You know, I put that on Facebook, and I think I got more likes out of that picture than anything. The person on the left is Jigsaw, and that was his nickname, and he was one of the interpreters, and he was a really good interpreter. He's a little blurry in that picture, but a good interpreter is a great help. And here's another, and the client with Patty in the background, just with her new glasses on. That was another interpreter on the left. I can't remember his name, but the one on the right was Zoo. You called him Zoo because you couldn't pronounce his name. So 2 of the interpreters were Zoo and Jigsaw, and they were 2 of my favorites, but I still can't pronounce their names. Just a picture of one of the churches, still not complete. No roof in this section of the roof. Oh, yeah, okay. There, I see that now. I can't see very well either. I brought my favorite glasses, my color. I had a few people want my glasses as I was fitting them. Yeah, this gentleman was wonderful. He could hardly see it out of one eye and barely out of the other. And after he got glasses, he was up walking around in the church. And he was really near blind. This is a young lady that I fit. She needed about 6 power glasses, and so they had to kind of lead her there. Her aunt, I think, took her there. And you should have seen her light up when you put the glasses on her. She could finally see. That was just beautiful for me. Here's another one of the first ladies I fit. Look at that smile. I call it the mercy smile, because that's what they would say is mercy. I think we got it wrong in our language. If you go to Spain, they say, guess what? Grace, gracias. There they say mercy, and we just say thank you. Mercy and grace. Guess what? It's free. They would say mercy. Thank you for the free gift. This is another favorite. This lady brought her Bible, and so when she'd put on her glasses, they were a prescription with readers. I'll open up her Bible and start reading. And she'd read for a long time. Then she'd fold her Bible and would try another pair, but she was just a beautiful lady. The most important thing to her was to be able to read her Bible. There's another one, the mercy smile. Yeah, this little boy, this is a boy and his brother that were at one of the churches. Just look at the boy's shoes, and then look at his eye. The story is his mother's dead. His father doesn't take very good care of him. They hang out down by the church all day long. I was so struck with him and asked our facilitator if there was something we could do to help him. Obviously, a lot of trauma to his left eye. And his name is Goo. And so I left with the interpreter, just try and get him to some clinics so that we could help him somehow or other. She did meet with him a few weeks later. They'd go to a hospital or clinic, but they have no money. Their uncle takes care of them and feeds them once in a while, but their street children probably would be the word. But look at their clothes and their shoes. Unbelievably, when we got on the plane in Port-au-Prince, I sat down beside a guy who runs a clinic in Port-au-Prince for a large megachurch from Austin, Texas. His name is Austin Holmes, actually. And so I told him about this boy, and I was hopefully, since you run a clinic, maybe we could get him in there, maybe do some help. And his last words were to me, "Consider it done. We'll get this taken care of." So it's been a slow process of his clinic getting a hold of Fabnice, who is our facilitator, to get a hold of this boy, but it is proceeding, and they're going to get him into the clinic to see if they can help. And their mission is called MOPS for short, but it's Mission of Port-au-Prince, so they've sent me their literature. So I plan on supporting that because they're just going to help this boy. Is this my last slide? Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's got a white arrow.
Okay. I was fortunate that my daughter got to come. Oh, we're going to talk about the iron first. I was fascinated with this iron. I personally don't touch irons. I haven't in 30 years. Now, we go through this building, and here's this fire. They have a fire.
Can you speak a little closer?
Oh.
Because the ones in the back aren't going to hear.
Okay, so, well, like I said, I haven't touched one in 30 years at least. We walk through this building, and they have a fire down on the ground, and I didn't think, they burn a lot of garbage down there. But what they're actually doing, whoops, go back. Oh, okay, they open this iron up, and they take and put all the coals in the iron out of this fire that they built, and that's how they iron their clothes. And everybody irons their clothes down there. All the kids that go to school, every uniform, they're so perfectly ironed, and you can see they're ironing this so they can hang it up. There was going to be a wedding that night, so they're getting it all nice and ironed. They really care a lot about their how they look and presenting themselves. They all came to the churches in their very, very best, and everything was ironed. It was amazing to see how much care they took in their pride or looking good or their image to people, which also surprised me when we would leave every morning. They washed their cars. Like, have you seen my car? I was just fascinated with some of how they take care of their things. They have bad living conditions, but yet what they do have, they take very good care of it. I really think they appreciate everything that they have. And then we finally get a day of relaxing. I want people to think about what we go through before we ever get a day off. We leave here, we leave at 6 in the morning, we get to Spokane, we fly all night, we get to the airport. Well, we're up all night. You should have seen us trying to sleep on the floors. Tim was hilarious. He was in 2 chairs that were hooked together that had a thing between the seats, and he's got his head on one, his butt sticking out, and his feet going through the other, trying to sleep. And I just laughed. Oh, Tim, good luck. It was hilarious. But we were all trying to sleep on the floor. Trudy and I were next to each other, and we'd flip this way and that way. So by the time we actually get there, we have been up all night long. And then we have to drive for 5.5 hours to get where we're going. Then the next day, we're to work. So we finally get a day where we can just actually relax a little bit, and here we are. And we did need some downtime because we're working from the time we get up. It's scheduled. You get up, you eat, you go, you're rushed. People fighting over shower time, cold showers, they're great. So it was nice to be able to finally get where we could just relax and talk about what we've been doing, what our experiences have been. Because we go to bed, you eat dinner, you have devotionals, and people were tired. So here we are at the beach, and it took us, 3 or 4 hours to get there. We drove quite a ways to get there. And, you know, the nice part about, like, what Patty and those guys do is they're up touching these people. To me, to know the area is to actually get out and touch it. We need to have the sand between our toes, the water, to touch the water. If you go to a waterfall, you got to feel the mist on your face. Now you've seen the waterfall, you know the fall. You need to get out and touch the water, the sand, the people. I like touching the people, and they are very touchy people. But to touch them and to feel them is to get to know them. And so that's what we're doing on our day off, is we're getting to know the land, the culture, the customs. Here's the beach here. You can see the garbage, but this is one of the cleaner beaches. The water is warm, and you can see some of their boats there. Sorry, Shane, we had to do it. There's Patty taking care of Shane. This is where we had our lunch, sitting here. And was his ankle swollen? I forgot why you were putting his socks on.
He had just taken them off to go in the water.
Oh, so you were just taking the sand off. That's right. Okay. And so there we are relaxing again. But now we're off the beach, yeah. So we got one day to play at the beach, and it was really, really good. And I don't know how many of these pictures I was supposed to go through. I think that's it. But I wanted everybody to know that I was asked to go to the Hamilton Middle School to do a presentation there, and so I did, and it was really, really good. Oh, we brought a whole suitcase of snacks. Those were probably ours. But as far as the food goes, they eat a lot of plantains, and they do a great job of cooking. They fry them. We had, how many different ways did we eat those? Okay. But I wanted to tell you about just hold on, because I just want to mention about the presentation at the school, that how fascinated. There was one little girl who asked me, well, this is 6th grade, but she asked me, so she was totally bewildered about, why would you go do this? And I said, to help people. I mean, it's like all of us need to get out and help people, and it's not all about us. So it was kind of neat to just be able to share with them that we all need to go out and help the people. There's a lot of need, and we really need to help as much as we can. And what they were really fascinated with was all the cement. We talked a lot about cement, the buildings and how they built all those houses, and the church with the cement. And the picture isn't here, but there are stairs that were made out of cement, and they just, whoa, how did they do that? So anyway, here's Margaret.
Okay, I'm going to make it real short. If this is accommodations, This is all, as we came home after a hard day, we were tired, very warm. We found this very relaxing. Madam Lucy and Pastor, accommodations are wonderful. We had a warm place to stay, warm. We would cool off at night with fans. It was very relaxing. We could sit around and just completely relax, and we really appreciated that. It was a compound with guards, 24 hours, 2 guards at the gate, but the fence was, I don't know how high, what would you say? It was very high, and at the top of it was barbed wire or cut glass broken at the top. So we were very secure. It's a very interesting story how they got this compound. It just shows again how God supplies. When something is needed, they supply. I don't know if Lucy was a fantastic cook. Oh, this is where we're going shopping one day. That is part of Barbara's shop. That's my boy. I took this at the beach, and being a librarian, he was sitting there reading it. It just did my heart good. So, further accommodations, when we got ready to go to the airport, a nice place to stay. This is where us girls stayed. Plenty of room. We had our bathrooms. We had 2 bathrooms just outside there. Cold showers, but it was great because it was very warm there. Lucy, I appreciate her. These are apricots, and they are actually in 4, and she cut them in 4s like this, and right at the center is where the seeds are. And it's seeds, it's not just one seed. There could be 2 in each one of the quarters, or there might be just 1. I appreciated her explaining things to us. Barbara and I were really captivated by the food and things like that. Explained all the food to us. It was fantastic. This is rice, the white, but what was that made of? The sauce, bean sauce up there in the corner, and you put it on your rice, and it's pretty good. It's pretend it's gravy. It was good.
Remember, Margaret, they made their spaghetti that way too. It
Yeah,
wasn't spaghetti sauce, it was bean sauce.
Yeah, and then this is homemade donuts for breakfast one morning. More things than that, but it was very good. This is how they set up over there in front of Doug and Patty. Is that over there? And is where we ate, dished up, and then over here is we sat, and then also over in this corner was a table. And it was just good to relax and talk, and that's one time. Okay, and this was a building. I was fascinated with this. The pastor told a story about how a Christian man got this complex, built it, and everything else. And I didn't hear all of it, but it was a fantastic story of how God supplied in that area. And who is next? And Trudy, I think. I just saw so many instances of how God, it was a trying time, and yet God met over and beyond everything.
So I get to talk about the plants and the animals, and the poor little donkeys. They were always overloaded, and so they truly beasts of burden, and you could see them, but you can see there. It's very green. It's a tropical island. Lots of big trees, lots of palm trees, coconut palms, and mango trees, big, huge trees. I'm not sure what other pictures we have. It's not going. Eric, whoop, I went the wrong way. Okay, so this is the compound where we were at looking from the roof you can climb up on the roof and look, but looking down on the trees. But you can see the palms, the coconut palms, and look out on the hillsides. Apparently Haiti means mountains. They went from sea level to 7,000 feet. And you can see some of those mountains. And to get to the ocean, we drove over the mountains. And to get from Port-au-Prince to our compound, we went over the mountains. It was really interesting to see the countryside. But here's some of the cement walls. But if you look in the very middle there, you can see some oxen, and a guy is plowing with a yoke of oxen. That's how they plowed. They either used their oxen, or you saw people out with hoes, digging with hoes. They were doing rice paddies. There was one area as we were driving to the town, Lakai, that the churches were in. And it was kind of interesting for me, but there were these big mounds out in this field, and it had been cleared. You could tell that there was something planted there. When we arrived, nothing was growing. By the time we left, there were things growing out of these mounds. I think it was a squash or some such thing. But they work the land with themselves and the animals. This is on the trip to the ocean, going up over one of the passes. You could look out over the mountains, and you can kind of see where the hurricane had been quite devastating to the countryside. You could see the trees had been beaten, and the leaves were starting to come back on them, but not a lot on the hillside. There's a little goat there standing on the side. The best looking animals were the goats. They had cattle and goats and chickens were the main things that we saw. We saw some pigs. All of the animals were tethered. Even the pigs were tethered, which I'm not sure how that worked. But we were told that if they weren't tethered and they got onto someone else's property, there were consequences. So. This is Furniture Row. It was kind of interesting because as you drove along the road, there were areas where they would sell certain things. They would sell food, they would sell furniture, they would sell gasoline, and so but you can see the trash along the side of the road. This was actually one of the cleaner areas, but Haitians do not drink Haitian water. Everything is in bottled water, or they had little pouches that they would do, and when they were done, they just throw it on the side of the road. They don't have a $50 fine for littering. So, this was one of the dogs at the ocean that we went to. All of the dogs, I think we saw one dog that wasn't an ancestor of the original dog on Haiti. All of the dogs looked like this. They were very thin, very skinny, long-legged. Here's some goats. I think if they drank milk, we didn't drink anything but powdered milk, but if they drank the animal's milk, I believe it probably came from the goats, because the cattle didn't look like they could have given any milk. There was not a lot of flowers that we saw, but at the guest house that we went to before we left, they had some really beautiful flowers and plants to see. Like I said, all of the animals were tethered when we went to the last church. Even the chicken was tethered. So, and Haiti has a lot of chickens. That's a lot of what we ate was chickens and drumsticks. And there we go to that again. But one thing that story I kind of wanted to tell is my job was to use the refractor. That's what I did the most of. But in order to do that, you're looking through the refractor into the people's eyes, and there's an audible beep that you hear when you're in the right spot, when it's able to read their eyes. And it was had to be really focused and listen for that beep. And in the first church, I don't believe I ever heard a beep. There was so much commotion, but God was good. We got the eyes read, but anyway, I'm really focused on trying to get a good reading on the people's eyes so they can get the correct prescription for the glasses that they needed. And it's hot, and it just is. But at the last church that we're at, I'm sitting there reading, and of course we're only letting so many people in at a time. Steve said 10, and it usually turned into 20 or 30. But then when we would work through those people, then they'd open the doors and let more people come in to have their eyes read. And I'm focusing and trying to get a reading on this lady's eyes, and I hear the commotion. They've opened the doors, and they're letting more people in. And it's so hot, and a cool breeze comes in, and I hear the voices, and they're so excited to come in to get glasses. And my thought at that moment, when I felt that coolness of the air, was, Lord, if only the people would be so excited and so anxious to get in to hear your word as they are to get these glasses. And so that's my prayer for the people of Haiti, is that they could have that spiritual desire to learn God's word and learn more about him. And that's also my prayer for us here in the good old US of A.
Well, I'm supposed to talk about transportation, and I think that was probably one of the biggest adventures of the whole trip. I think it took a lot of faith in God and your driver when you got there. Probably the most interesting part of this is I was in this vehicle, and they're all in some level of disrepair. If someone wanted to make a business of getting rid of your old farm vehicles, they would be like new in Haiti. The overalls this guy wears to work on his rig is actually under the pillow in the driver's seat that's covering the hole in the driver's seat. He was quite familiar with under the hood of that vehicle. Let's see. That vehicle was one that broke down on our way back to Port-au-Prince. We got into a van that I think we had 8 of these that we had to get back to Port-au-Prince, this luggage. We got them in a van, and we got in the van, and I was really excited because there was lots of room in this van. And Shane and Steve and I and the pastor were going to get to ride in this van all the way back to Port-au-Prince. And, it smelled like dirty, rotten seafood and a lot of real bad body sweat. But there was room in it until they took us to the other van where everybody was already in and said, no, this is the van you're going to ride in. Well, they took us to Port-au-Prince. We went right next to this vehicle, and they said, okay, you guys need to get out. And it's like, no, you need to take us to our motel. And they're like, no, this van can't travel around Port-au-Prince. It can transport you to the city, but it's not legal for it to drive in the city. So we're like, well, what are we going to do? we're here on the side of the street with these 8 boxes of stuff. And they said, well, we have someone coming. Well, this is what came for Shane, myself, Steve, and the pastor. And I'm the size of a guy that I've never had on a girdle, and I don't know what it's like to wear spandex. But after pouring myself into that car, I have an idea. It was, it had no dash. There was a piece of carpet over what would be a dash. Every time he took his foot off the gas, it would stop. It would quit running. Well, it didn't have a regular place to put the key. It was hanging by some wires, and he would take and put this broken off key in there and try a little bit, and it'd start back up, and we'd go, a few more blocks until he had to slow down, and it would all happen again. But we did get back to another vehicle that took us to our motel. But there we are. I don't know if that one's the car or the van. I think that's the van. And people will ride on the vans like this. They'll go for a ways and then jump off. And I thought I had a lot of faith with them darting in and out of traffic until I asked them, why, all these cycles? That is actually a taxi. And so at that point I decided, well, as much as my trust is, to drive through that traffic on the back of a motorcycle would take far more trust. And they truly can transport anything on a motorcycle. We saw plywood. We saw windshields. I saw a windshield. Someone carrying a windshield going down the road on a motorcycle. So I think, here's a hand cart, but here's, and that is, he could probably get another 15 people on that. And that's the van that I was really excited about until I found out it just took us to a van that had more people in it. And again, they're just loading and unloading the vehicle. That is where they unloaded us. This is a canal, and that's where the garbage is. And there's kids playing in it, and goats and pigs and chickens and everything. So, okay. Thank you.
Well, that's a little of our adventure that we went down to do. The only thing that really we haven't touched on was the first church that we worked at. They knew we were only supposed to be able to do about 100 or 125 people in a full day. The first day we were going to be there was going to be a half a day. We showed up and there was 500 people sitting there. They all wanted help. Of course, we couldn't do it. And part of the main problem was that even the people that were in line to be helped, the church wasn't bringing them up. The church was kind of in the process, or they were the ones supposed to be bringing the next person. So we didn't know who was next. But they were bringing people from outside that were family members, church members. The deacons were getting their glasses, and all of the church hierarchy were getting their glasses and their families. And it was causing a major problem. The people were getting very upset, very rowdy about it. We finally finished that day, came back the next Sunday, worked on it again. About halfway through, we just had to pack up and leave because it was getting to where there was going to be a riot. Seriously was going to be a riot there. Again, other people being brought in instead of the people that were in line. The last day we came, we told them they had to keep everybody outside. I just finally put my foot down and said, the people that are here that are in line will be taken care of. We will not be doing anybody through the other door. And when I say the other door, they'd literally open a door and bring people in through the back door, like that door there. They'd be bringing people in, and the people in front of us weren't getting served. So we finally got that under control to a degree. And the reason I'm kind of telling you this is the church they're kind of like the Pharisees in my mind. They were taking care of their people, and the people that were in need were not being taken care of. They were putting themselves above everybody else. One of the reasons I firmly believe that God sent us down there was for this church to realize what they were doing. And through the way we worked and what was happening, it was brought to their attention that was what was happening. Forward Edge, which is the facilitating group that we went through, that they set everything up. They were going to have meetings with this church leadership to try to correct this. It's kind of a Haitian culture, but it's wrong, and they know it. So I think the good Lord sent us down for a lot of reasons, giving glasses, preaching the word, but also to show this church that there was a problem. And I don't know how it'll ever turn out, if it'll be corrected or not, but I believe it will. I think the good Lord had that. That is much a reason for us going as anything else. And, you know, the good Lord has everything under control. I didn't feel that way sometimes, but Margaret kept telling me, just, good Lord's got it under control. And I think that's why she was there for me. But it was an excellent trip. It was very hard, very demanding on us. But I think we accomplished a lot that the good Lord sent us down for. And I think that should be it, Matt. And thank everybody that prayed for us. We needed it. It was very, very needed.
Well, thank you guys for sharing. You've obviously been changed by what you experienced, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for your patience, and we went a little bit over time, but Bill, would you come and lead us in that final hymn? And we'll close our morning with that.